Hey gamers, Chris here. So, I'm well known as an optimizer. Does that make me a bad role player? That's the topic of today's video, so welcome to Treantmonk's Temple. So recently I was on Twitter and I saw this poll. D&D question for y'all. When making a character and deciding character features, what motivates you more? Game mechanics or flavor or narrative? So this is obviously a loaded question. Of course, anyone who has any pride in their role-playing ability is going to want to pick the latter, but this is a false dichotomy, and I can't believe it still exists, but it does. This weird idea that somehow game mechanics and story don't go together. Of course they do. That's the whole purpose of a role-playing game. When I make a character, I have a concept, and I need to use optimization to make that concept come to life. So I responded that the two were inseparable, that I always needed to consider mechanics when I came up with a concept to make sure that one went with the other. And the response I found fairly puzzling. And this Twitter user responded that, I'm currently playing a paladin with a negative constitution modifier. Now, how on earth is playing a paladin with a negative constitution modifier role-playing or story-based? Maybe you have this concept of a sickly paladin who dies easy. Well, I guess if that's your concept, then that's the way you need to make the character. But D&D is a game where the characters are supposed to be heroes. Making a sickly guy who's going to die fast, I don't think is a particularly interesting concept. I certainly don't think it's superior role-playing. Your constitution modifier doesn't really have much to do with story. It doesn't have much to do with role-playing. So this seems to me like, does this person know how to optimize or roleplay? I'm not sure. Now, Twitter isn't a great forum to really understand where someone's coming from. Maybe there really was interesting story ideas and an interesting concept, and this constitution modifier that was negative was appropriate to that. Okay. But does that mean that somebody who has a concept of a paladin with a decent constitution is somehow less focused on role-playing or story? I don't see any reason to come to that conclusion. So I'm going to bring up a term that the creator of might not be glad I brought up. But Tempest Stormwind was the handle of somebody who contributed to the Wizards forums before they went down. And I regularly interacted with Tempest Stormwind, and he created a post where he referred to this idea that role-playing and optimization were somehow opposed to each other as the Stormwind fallacy. And the idea here is that there's this conception that somebody either focuses on role-playing or on optimization, and then you have to choose where on the line you are between one and the other. Of course, these two things shouldn't be on the same line at all. Optimization is about the mechanics. It's about making the character. Role-playing is what you do at the table, how you bring those mechanics to life in an interesting way. Now, Tempest Stormwind was kind of sorry that he put his name on this fallacy because it kind of became what he was known for, even though he was a great optimizer and a great contributor in so many other ways. So to be linked to this one thing forever, I don't think was the legacy he was looking for. Nevertheless, the point he made was just so obvious. Role-playing and optimization really have nothing to do with each other at all. Deliberately being bad at optimization, deliberately doing things to gimp your own character, that's not role-playing. There's nothing role-playing about that. Going to the table and going, oh, my paladin only has 7 hit points, that's not role-playing. That just happens to be a character that has this crippling disability. And you can either work around it, which is optimization, or you can just let your character die and then you make a new one, which is story crippling. So this idea that having a bad constitution and then your paladin dying easy somehow makes the story stronger is simply wrong. And this has been said over and over and over again, but I'm going to say it yet again. These things are not related. And those who think that they are, or that optimization is somehow bad, always have misconceptions about what optimization is. Too much optimization throws off the balancing between people who are skilled at something and people who aren't. Compensating for the power increase is a pain in the ass for the DM, who throws off the balance for any PC who isn't optimized. So the idea is that you have a power imbalance between characters. This can be a problem. You can have players who completely optimize their characters specifically for the purpose of overshadowing other players. I don't consider this to be optimization. I consider this to be power gaming, somebody who's trying to steal the limelight. This is a style of play. It's not optimization. It's not about using mechanics. This is about trying to overshadow other players. What I became best known for was my God Wizard build. This is something that I developed in 3.5 on the optimization forums on the Wizards of the Coast website. And it was optimizers who loved this build and spread it so that I gained some notoriety for that build. The entire point of the God Wizard build is to use battlefield control, buffs, and debuffs in order to facilitate other characters into being able to defeat the enemies. So you're lifting everyone else up. That's optimization. That's what optimization is about. Using the tools at hand, including your teammates, in order to defeat challenges, not stealing the limelight. That has nothing to do with optimization. That is a flaw in the type of player you're playing with, not their understanding of the rules. So I'm currently playing in a campaign where I play a trickery cleric, and at low levels, what I would do is, my character wasn't very good in terms of ability scores because I hadn't rolled very well, but I rolled a good wisdom score, so at least I was a good cleric. And I'd go into fights and I would use the dodge action because I didn't have a lot of useful things to do, but then I could draw enemy attacks, and then I would use a bless spell so that my allies were more effective in their attacks. That's optimization. But I mixed the idea of that with roleplay because this is a cleric who worships the goddess Tamora, who's the goddess of luck. So the idea is that he goes into combat and the enemies keep attacking him and missing because he's using the dodge action, but also because he's lucky. And then the allies keep hitting because, again, he's using bless, but because they're being lucky. So we're mixing here concept with optimization. Now, in regards to this poster who said that he plays a low-con paladin and therefore he's more story-driven than somebody who's an optimizer, I would say this: if your concept is that your paladin is sickly and close to dying, then it requires an understanding of the mechanics. It requires a level of optimization to know how to build that character. If you make a paladin and they happen to have a low constitution because you don't understand the rules and you don't understand how to optimize, then all you've done is you've made your character weaker for no purpose at all. You're not gaining anything on story. You're not gaining anything on role-playing. All you've done is you made yourself easier to die. Now everyone else has to protect you. The DM has to worry about killing you. Then, of course, if you die, you're making a new character, and that might interrupt the story. It might make your concept not fit, especially if your character was supposed to be a hero. So this whole idea that making bad optimization decisions is role-playing is garbage. And it's just not good role-playing. Good role-playing involves coming up with an interesting character concept and then understanding the rules well enough to bring that concept to life. And D&D isn't a game where your characters are supposed to be terrible and inept. We're supposed to be heroes. That the DM develops a story based on the idea that the players are going to play heroes, and those heroes are going to develop the story. No one reads Lord of the Rings and goes, wow, that story would have been really good if Sam had just succumbed to the ring right away. This idea that he could just shrug off the powers of the ring, I found that pretty optimized. No, that's the idea of the character. The character is supposed to be incredibly strong-willed. He's supposed to believe that friendship is more important than anything else, and his loyalty is so strong that not even the ring can succumb him. That's optimization, and it made the story more interesting, better. That's how optimization is supposed to work. It makes stories better. And in no way are you going to find a case where you have to choose between being optimized or role-playing. That just doesn't happen. It's one or the other? Never. It's always both. These two concepts are inseparable. So the best role players tend to be good at optimization too, because they understand how mechanics fit with concept and story, and they can mesh them together effectively. And this helps bring the story forward, and by bringing the story forward, we have a better role-playing experience for the table. That's what optimization is. It's practical optimization. Theoretical optimization exists where we look for loopholes that maybe can do something that the rules didn't intend, but those are never intended for actual play. It's just a mental exercise in order to understand how the rules work better. But real optimization, practical optimization, and role-playing, they go together perfectly. And so that's all I really have to say on this topic. Just a short video to point out my point of view here. This has all been said a million times before, but there's still people out there who think putting a low constitution on a character somehow is good role-playing. I don't understand why they think that's good role-playing or where they're coming from, but I'll keep stating my case. And I'm going to sit back and relax. And I'm going to have some fun, because D&D is for everyone. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.